Hello and welcome to Mr. Spoonhour's history class and your first helping of A Spoonful of History. Today's lecture is going to be on Chapter 1, the push-pull factors of American colonialism and the ideas of mercantilism, capitalism, as well as highlighting from previous learning from other grades the idea of the Columbian Exchange and the triangular trade. The first I like to begin with, why did Europeans set sail? Well, Europeans began to set sail for a variety of reasons, and if you think about it, human nature back then is no different than what human nature is today. We may feel ourselves to be more highly evolved or very different than what we were in the past. However, subtly, we are really the same. So the first big reason is to grow and control trade, and you have to understand that this time how we grew and controlled trade was the country. It was for the glory of the country, the glory of the king, not for independent wealth of you or I, of the middle class or the wealthy. The idea of capitalism with Adam Smith has not really come into vogue yet. So the idea of early on exploration is for the glory of the country and the glory of the king, and to make the country and the king wealthy and to control the trade route and to get to Asia before anybody else. The next reason is new technology. With new technology, such as the lateen sail, new types of boat construction, magnetic compass, there are ways of actually navigating in the open ocean and being able to get to new markets quicker than other nations, which leads to more competition between countries, not individual investors, but between countries. And then the last really is kind of like anything else, fame, fortune, and to make your nation powerful. Next, I would like to talk a little bit about the concept between capitalism and mercantilism. And on a test, you really need to know the difference between capitalism and mercantilism. Capitalism is kind of what we have in our country now, and that is the idea that we have investors. Okay, it's an economic system in which money is invested in a business to make profit. And the simple definition of this is that you and I can invest in the stock market, and when we invest in the stock market, we have a certain share or portion of the company. If that company does well, then we get money back in higher profits, such as our stocks go up, etc. If the company does bad or goes bankrupt, we lose our money. So capitalism has a lot of risk, but it also can have a lot of gain. And capitalism really comes up and becomes a really important part of and changes the world due to Adam Smith's book called The Wealth of Nations. And it is really the reason why North America, the United States, was colonized, was mainly on the idea of capitalism, where in South America and Central America and other parts of the world, colonialization happened as a concept of mercantilism, in which it's for the glory of the nation of the king, and that if you can control gold, silver, or other natural resources, then you can control the market, because other people are forced to have to buy those things from you at whatever rate you would like to sell it to them. And where capitalism, you can only sell what the market will bear and what you are willing to pay. But in mercantilism, it is almost like a monopoly in a way, where if you have control of the silver, gold, lumber, and therefore people want to buy furniture, or if they want to buy tea and you control all the tea plantations in India, well, guess what? You, as a nation, as the king who controls that, becomes wealthy and powerful. So that's really the difference between mercantilism and capitalism. Lastly, I would like to do a little bit of review with you from previous learning, the idea of the Columbian Exchange. That this is based upon and actually named after Christopher Columbus, hence the name Columbian Exchange. Now, the Columbian Exchange, simply put, is an exchange of goods, people, technology from one continent to the other, namely the New World, which is North and South America, and the Old World, which is Europe. So it is an exchange. Between Europe and America. And the exchange is the New World got sugar, coffee, rice. They also got cows, pigs, and horses. Pigs and cows and horses did not exist in the New World until the Europeans showed up. However, another sad note is right here, the idea of smallpox and measles, influenza, typhus, and other types of disease, in which, because the Native Americans were so isolated, were not exposed to these many diseases, that for centuries Europeans were. So on a side note, many died and due to this, and wiped out large populations of Native Americans. Now, granted, this was not done on purpose, it was just an accident. What Europe got from the New World, from the Americas, is tobacco, gold, silver, cocoa, which we make chocolate, potatoes, and corn, okay? Where on the Columbian exchange, simply put, it is the trade route, the triangular trade is the trade route between North America and Europe. So basically North America is sort of the Costco of Europe, and they have lumber, they have fish, they have all sorts of different things that are raw materials. They go to Europe, mainly England, and they go into the factories. In the English factories, they turn stuff into finished goods, such as smoking tobacco. They turn the sugar into rum. They do furniture. They do all sorts of other different things with it. From there, they take their materials. They go to Africa. And in Africa, what they will do is they will trade guns, they will trade tobacco, they will trade other things that the African empires find valuable, and in exchange, they will get slaves. They will put slaves on boats in really inhumane conditions, and they will ship the slaves over to the Americas. And it is there that the slaves will go first to the Indies on sugar plantations, and then eventually make their way up into Charleston, South Carolina, and transform the South, their economy and culture and way of life, because slavery will be born out of this triangular trade. William Wilberforce of England will see the inhumane objectifying of the slaves. And eventually first England, and then the rest of Europe and most of the world will outlaw slavery. North America will eventually, after the Civil War in the 1860s, will they finally outlaw the institution of slavery in North America. Now, North America and South America differ greatly because of who colonized them. And North America is distinctly different from South America, because when you look at the colonies of North America, you mainly look at the United Kingdom, you look at Germany, you look at France, you look at the Dutch right here, that mainly colonized North America. And from there, the reason why they were colonized were for a variety of different reasons. We know most famously the Puritans came from England for religious freedom. But the other people that came from England, from France, from Germany, etc., and settled in North America came because of a thing called primogeniture. Now, primogeniture basically is that if you are the firstborn son, you inherit all the property and title from your family in Europe. If you're the second-born, third-born, etc., you're kind of out of luck. So because you have no land, you have nothing really holding you back here in Europe, many came over to North America and settled here so that they would have land. They will take that land and then start to build an empire and build profits and build their lives. And with that, they will also bring all the vogue of learning and literature and science and philosophy of the European Enlightenment that came after the Dark Ages, after the Black Death. And because of that, this sets North America apart. They are highly enlightened. They are scholars and learned men of the Enlightenment, of the Enlightenment period. And with that, they bring those ideas. And so when England begins to tell them no and begin to deny them the rights that their ancestors and the people that they highly respect in Europe have told them that is their natural, native, God-given right, they begin to rebel. Where when you look at South America, they're mainly colonized by Spain and Portugal, and their driving force was not the idea of capitalism and other things. It was the idea of mercantilism and basically going and taking the gold and the silver and all the natural resources, and they could care less about Enlightenment ideals of the native population. So when you look at Central and South America, they suffer greatly under this idea of colonialization, and we see that today in how different North America is when we look at Canada and the United States compared to other parts of Central and South America. For this, I would like to kind of look and analyze some of the major forces that guided the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and why they, of the Enlightenment period. And because of them, we have the English Bill of Rights, which is that certain rights that every human being has and the government cannot take away. The idea of the Magna Carta, which we'll be talking about quite a bit as we get into the Declaration of Independence, which limits the government and limits the power of the king, and the idea of representative government, in which our founding fathers basically understood as their divine right, that it was their right of representative government, and when they were denied that representative government, they believed that they were being treated unfairly and gave them the root cause to rebel. Next, let's talk about France. With France, with the United States and North America, got three philosophers: Voltaire, the idea of freedom of speech; Rousseau, who dealt with the idea of philosophy within government; and then Montesquieu is the separation of powers within the government. In Germany, we have Martin Luther and John Calvin, who led the Protestant Reformation within Europe, and with that brought the Protestant Reformation and many ideas of religious reform to America. Lastly, let's focus on Italy and how they influenced North America, and mainly that would be the idea of republican government. Remember, the idea of representative government is really kind of born by the Italians. Remember, democracy is from the Greeks, but representative government is from the Romans. And then the English, through the idea of Parliament and the Magna Carta of limiting government, really brings it to what we see Republican government today. So I hope you enjoyed my first helping of A Spoonful of History for Chapter 1, the idea of the Enlightenment and how it influenced the colonialization of North America, as well as the difference between mercantilism and capitalism, as well as the triangular trade, and some of the push-pull factors of why Europeans came to North and South America. Until next time, I hope this helps you, and I look forward to doing my next podcast. Thank you very much.